purpose of this virtual tour stop is to showcase an even-aged regeneration method known as seed tree harvesting. In a seed tree harvesting system, rather than coming in and taking off the entire overstory of a stand and reforesting artificially or through artificial regeneration with bare root or containerized seedlings, we elect to leave a defined number of trees in the overstory and rely on those to drop seed onto the forest floor and regenerate that stand naturally. So in our case here, we're trying to regenerate Loblolly and Shortleaf pines. Both of them are pretty tall species on this site, and they are very light seeded, which means wind can carry their seeds several hundred feet, especially downwind. So what we did is we retained a tree about every 75 feet. So that works out to 8 overstory trees per acre retained on this site. And now we're relying on them to drop seed. And again, they can seed about a couple hundred feet. Every 75 feet, that means we should get sufficient overlap and we should be able to naturally have seed fall all across this stand. And the goal is we will use that to regenerate our next even-age stand of Loblolly pine. So we did the overstory removal, we did the seed tree cut. We selected trees that were large diameter, had nice crowns on them, and were showing, they had cones on them showing that they were actually able to, produce seed. We then followed that up with understory competition control by way of ground application of herbicides. So we used glyphosate, imazapyr, and I want to say a little bit of Alst Extra, although it seems to have washed out of this site, to control sweet gum and some of the vine species that were out here. Again, now it's just kind of a waiting game. We are going to wait for this to regenerate, and then once the trees get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall, the regeneration I mean, we will then come in and take off the overstory. So once that overstory is removed, this goes from being a 2-age stand, being the overstory and then the understory or the regeneration cohort, to an even-age stand of Loblolly that really won't look a whole lot different than a plantation that you might see just artificially regenerated somewhere else on the landscape. So a big question I get is why did you do this rather than just typical even-aged artificial regeneration practices? And there's a lot of different ways to do it. One, you can make the case that from a genetic standpoint, the trees that have grown to be really nice on this site are pretty well suited for this site. So why not give them a chance to continue to persist on the landscape? Another, you can make the case for cost. I'm not having to pay to have this replanted. So by seeding it naturally, I might save a little bit of money. Although I have to tell you, we do the economic analysis, and this is about the same as far as costs. When you look into having to potentially do a pre-commercial thinning operation on it, you still have to do the herbicide site preparation. It comes out to about the same as artificial regeneration. The big one for us is public perception. So a lot of people find this to be a lot less visually offensive as traditional even-age methods. So by retaining a little bit of overstory, it just looks a little bit nicer. And a lot of landowners and a lot of the general public that drive through this area in North Carolina appreciate seeing this more so than big clear cuts. But functionally, they're about the same. So again, once the trees get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall out here, we will come in and take off the overstory and just have that even-age stand, and you probably won't even notice that we had done a seed tree cut in here. So encourage you to kind of pan around, look, see what this looks like, and I will shut off the video and hopefully showcase a different reproduction or regeneration method elsewhere on the property.